At the age of 9 years old, my mom, she was tragically killed. At that point in my life, my whole world changed. I tried so hard to people please, to find this love that had left me. And when I got of age, I started looking for it in men.
I've struggled with depression probably 4 or 5 different times in my life, but I never had the language to put with that, and at the time I didn't know it and I didn't call it that. So I've spent a long time in my life dealing with sexual addiction and pornography, and I was trying to escape into some temporary sort of fulfillment that wasn't lasting or wasn't true.
I think most of my life I've been afraid. Fear has been something that's just kind of always been there. When my parents divorced, I was just so afraid, and I didn't know what I was afraid of. Like, I would just tell my mom that I was really afraid, and she would ask me why, and I'd be like, I don't really know. And as I grew up, it became more of a fear of myself.
There have been a lot of times in my life where I have struggled with different things, different sin, different things that I didn't want to be part of my life, but that were. And the ways I have dealt with that have always been to try harder, and I try harder, and I try harder until I realize I can't make it, and there's always some shame in that. And shame then there has, in my life, has caused me to hide, and for me that led into a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. For 11 years, just struggled with depression around this area of hiding my sin and hiding my struggle.
About 10.5 years ago, I found myself homeless, involved in the legal system because of alcoholism and drug addiction. I had a daughter who was just about a year old. I was going to lose her, and she was really the last thing that I wasn't willing to give up to addiction and alcoholism.
My circumstances, everything was just super messy and way out of my control.
I tried to control it away, and I couldn't. I thought they were internal, me problems, but they were things that started to threaten my marriage and my relationship with my kids.
It wasn't until the sin got so bad, the struggles, the anxiety, the depression, that something had to break. And the way I went with it is I risked telling somebody the thing I was hiding, the thing I was most ashamed of, the thing when the pastor said, "Do you have any secrets?" I always knew exactly what he was talking about.
I had to surrender and figure out that I was powerless, my life was unmanageable, and that the only one that was going to be able to restore me to any kind of right life was God.
Sometimes it's not even a sin we struggle with. It's not even anything negative. Sometimes we have a hunger for God or a hunger for more. We want good, but we just can't get there.
If you find yourself in a place where you feel like your struggles are unmanageable, or you realize that you can't beat them on your own, that you're powerless, the planting is a place where we invite everybody with any kind of struggle to be part of a community that lives in the light and lives with grace with one another.
By God's grace, I got clean and sober with the help of community.
I found people that could empathize with me, but also who had grace for me. And it's a scary moment coming into the light, but getting past the scariness of that moment has been the most freedom I've ever experienced.
At the end of the group or day, we all were fighting for the same thing, to get closer to Jesus.
My life is better than anything that I could have ever dreamed or imagined.
So really, it doesn't matter where we are on our journey, whether we're struggling with pornography or alcohol, whether we're feeling defeated by ADHD or depression, whether there's a chronic illness that's making us feel hopeless, or whether there's just something more of God that we want that we just can't seem to get. There is only one thing that can make a significant difference, and that is a real encounter with God.
My wish with the planting is to help others become planted in the love of Jesus Christ, to give what was so freely given to me away.
It's a place where we can be reminded of who God is, and that God is good enough, and that He is powerful enough to deal with anything in our lives.
That's why we teach at the planting that even though there are broken parts of us, He has given us a new identity, an identity that when we understand it will change our families, our neighborhood, our city. So we would love it if you would join us on Thursday nights from 7 to 9 in worship and teaching and hearing testimonies of how God has met us, sharing our hearts and our lives with each other. Broken people and grieving people and hungry people have a supernatural encounter with God, who then receive a new identity. They will be called mighty oaks, a planting of the Lord for the display of His splendor. And then those people who were broken and touched by God and given a new identity, they will go out and rebuild the ruined cities, the places that have been devastated for generations.